You should have access.
If it's set to I1,
Yeah,
I
minimum network.
don't have.
Oh, I can change it. Do you want me to change it real quick?
I can change it. I got data admin.
I already did C1. I already did it.
Yep, I did it too.
Oh, well.
That means I gotta reboot Tower Trainer though.
Oh, it takes 2 seconds.
Yeah. So I'll be running commands. Is there anybody here that is able to do pilot voices?
Bolton wants to do it.
So it's Piatone Demo 2 /
Yeah.
2-9 RL. About 1. A lot of sectors.
Yeah, I'll go through it here with everybody first.
So Joe, you can go back in here, set Piatone as a like an ATC in data admin, and have them auto track by Piatone for the starting airplanes.
Oh, really? I didn't think you could do that because that's where the student logs in.
No, you can do it. It'll just mean that you have an extra Piatone up there.
Oh.
Should I set my filters to nothing to 242?
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, I have mine all the way up. It doesn't really matter once they get out. But
Oh, I got my filters on.
alrighty. So I guess we'll start here real quick. We'll just go through all the sectors real quick just so everyone knows where everything is, in case they hear stuff. So let me know if this actually works. I think it will. So we'll start up north. Up here,
I just see your CRC.
You don't see anything. You don't see a circle or anything.
Nope.
All right. Well, let me try something else.
Because since you're sharing only your CRC, we won't be able to see anything on desktop there drawing over it.
All right. How about now?
I think we should be able to see it now.
All right. So we'll start real quick. So we'll start up north here. So up north, where this is, that's the Harley sector, number 62. That's the north low sector. Right here, we have the Malta sector. This is the low northwest sector. Plano, and this actually owns all the way from there down to here and over to here. So Plano actually owns all this on the network. In real life, there's actually 3 separate sectors. Plano's is this sector here, and then there's a separate sector to the southwest and a separate sector to the southeast. But for our purposes here, Plano owns all 3 of those sectors there. And then over to the east, we have the Bears sector, 35. And then sitting on top of us in the high sector, we have Boiler, which sits on top of us right about here. And then the high sector up for the east area up here is going to be Gipper. And I think that is all the sectors in this file, just so we know there. Just basic things about Piatone. Piatone is it's a transitional sector. We get all the departures off of C90, and we have our 5 tracks. As we know, we have the A track, B track, C track, D track, and E track, which is depicted by these lines right there. We actually have these in our scopes at work, so we can see where all the stuff is. Coming from C90, we'll get the O'Hare's climbed at 15. We'll get the Midway's climbed at 12. And the big thing is from C90, we gain control for speed adjustments, turns, and climb for the midways. So we have basically blanket control from C90 right away. A lot of times they have to wait to ship people. So like if they have a midway guy underneath an O'Hare, they technically have to wait until the O'Hare guy's out of 12-1 before they ship them to us, just for their separation, because SouthSat's looking at the O'Hare departures and quick looking at going underneath them. And Mark can talk more about that if he's here or wants to. But we usually get those guys out, and they're all coming direct to the first fixes: Aceto, Bacon, Comiskey, or as other people like to say at work, not an appropriate thing, which I won't say here. Dent and Earned are the first fixes there.
I invited Maddox up here. Maddox, you're recording it, right? Maddox.
Bueller.
Cool. All right, continue.
For the airspace stuff, I should went over this. Grissom approach sits right down here. Actually, it sits down here. So on the other side, actually. Grissom approach is here. We have South Bend approach, which sits over here. Champaign approach sits down here. And Terre Haute approach is down here. And Indy's over here as well. We don't really deal with them, but those are the main approaches. Then we have Peoria / T75 now, which is over here. So those are our approach controls that sit underneath us. Obviously, C90 is here, and then Rockford's up to the northeast or northwest, but we don't really deal with them. So that's just dealing with the approaches there. So like I said before, transitioning sector, basically the job at Piatone is to feed the high sectors something they can work with to get these guys fanned out and speed normally. As the airlines like to say, they all come over at 250 knots. So if we have to, we'll assign speeds to these aircraft to keep them in line, so that the high sectors are going to do more of splitting them off, setting them shortcuts, letting them fan out and get higher. Our job here is just to make sure we deliver them to the highs in an orderly fashion. That's really the only thing here. We're not really doing too much besides that. And this is a very transitional sector. So the hard thing is the vector lines, as they like to say, use your vector lines at Piatone, they lie to you a lot because aircraft are always constantly turning and so forth. In this file, actually, you'll see a couple times where C90 flashes an aircraft at me, but they won't ship me an aircraft until he's directed that first fix. They still could be vectoring him out away from other traffic to make sure they get their separation requirements coming to us. They have to give us 5 miles in trail on all these tracks from the same airport. So obviously a midway can be stacked underneath an O'Hare. It happens quite regularly. We deal with it. We have to separate them, which usually ends up with the midway being stuck underneath or slowed down for a little longer, or we'll take the O'Hare and give him a shortcut, try to get him a little out in front a little faster. But we'll see that in this file. So with that being said, do we have any questions before we get started here? Or things people have questions on? And I can't see any of the people, so I don't know if people have hands up or not.
Y'all can pop them in the chat. Or if you want to raise your hand, we'll bring you up here, then kick you back down once the question is done. No questions. All right.
All right, we'll get started here. So I think I remember the scenario correctly. So actually, let's preface this scenario was actually a real life situation. As the title of the Sweatbox, this was back in February. I was not working Piatone. There was another R-side trainee who was actually working the stint. It was actually a little bit complex and complicated. So I thought, oh, we can get the data from that and do that. I was actually working a different sector at the time, but it's a good little sector, a good little situation. It has some different things in it that kind of demonstrate the things of Piatone.
Let me know when you want to start it.
All right, we can start. The Uniteds are both gone on the C and D track. 714's here climbing to 23, and the other two aren't here yet.
Could not run ERAM command. Oh, they already have control of those. Never mind. All good.
Yeah, Iceland okayed it.
Yeah, of course you did.
Mm-hmm. So
Chicago Center.
go ahead.
Delta Chicago Center Delta 2738, 9.4 climbing, flight level correction 15,000.
Delta 2738 Chicago Center, climb maintain flight level 230, resume normal speed.
I maintain 230, resume normal speed, Delta 2738.
And Zach,
Go
I'll
ahead.
take over piloting from here.
Thank you.
There's some quick notes here, just so we know. So like the D track, as we talked about before, has two separate transitions on it. That has the DONV transition and the DUMG transition, essentially. So sometimes with aircraft, we have two on the D track. We'll try to separate them, one going direct DUMG and the other one going direct DONV, just to get them a little more separated, so then the high is going to work with that a little bit better. The same thing with the E track. The E track is the same thing. We have Areco and we have Emoji down there. Same sort of idea, just trying to get people on the other side of each other.
Joe, is this file set to have these guys automatically climb into the high?
They will not climb to the high. No, you have to manually climb them. I didn't know how to do that at the time without it like freaking out. So
Chicago low envoy 3648's 8.5 coming to 15,000.
envoy 3648 Chicago Center, climb maintain file 230, resume normal speed.
230 normal speed envoy 3648.
Yeah, it's 714. Contact Chicago Center 121.27.
2127 United 714 2. Chicago low breaker 4803 8.6 climb to 15,000.
Brickyard 4803 Chicago Center, climb maintain file 190, resume normal speed.
190 normal speed breaker 4803.
And one thing about Piatone is nice. We do have 3 mile separation right now due to the ADS-B, so we can use 3 miles between these aircraft. Up to 20, up to file 230. 20, flight 231 and above is going to be 5 mile separation.
And you can tell that how?
So our bubbles change here. So you can see right now I put a J ball on Envoy. It has the spaces in between it for our 3 mile bubble. The 5 mile bubble won't have any spaces on it.
What else tells you they're eligible?
Also the dots coming off. Actually, the dots. I think the ADS-B non-compliant still has the dots on it, but the dots is the thing instead of slashes also helps.
Yeah, so essentially, if they're eligible for 3 mile separation, they'll have a dot instead of a beacon slash. So you'll see a slash when they get to 231 and above.
You can see here.
Yeah.
Chicago low Southwest 8503 or correction Southwest 2503 is 8.9 coming to 12,000.
Southwest 2503 Chicago Center, climb maintain file 230, resume normal speed.
230 normal speed Southwest 2503.
Delta 2738, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
2127 Delta 2738. Chicago
So
low envoy 3694 is 9 coming to 16,000.
Envoy 3694 Chicago Center, climb maintain 16,000, the Kankakee altimeter 2993.
93 16,000 envoy 3694.
And something that's on Sweatbox isn't really necessarily in the real world too, but this between this Envoy and the Brickyard, sometimes they'll do different speeds. I know they're the same type of aircraft, so they should have the same speeds, but sometimes different companies do different speeds. So like Envoy does usually pretty fast. Brickyards will do pretty fast. We get a SkyWest, they like to go slow. Wisconsin like to go fast. So it's sometimes too here, like I broke the speeds on these guys knowing that I have it here, but just something to keep an eye on. Like I have 70 knots to the good right now, but if this was a bad situation, I'd probably just keep this guy slower, put him faster until he's out of the altitude, or give this guy a shortcut further down the line because this guy's over Emoji and this guy's landing Indy anyway, so he has to get over here and get down. So
Chicago low Sky was 5610 12,000 for 15,000.
SkyWest 5610 Chicago Center, climb maintain file 230, resume normal speed.
230 normal speed Sky was 5610.
I just don't think Sweatbox now also does the speeds correctly, so I think it gives everybody in the same speed opposed to like real world you'd see people doing different things. But
In Chicago, United 752's 9.5 coming to 15,000.
United 752 Chicago Center, climb maintain file 230, zoom normal speed.
230 normal speed, United 752.
Another thing too, people like to do with PATELN is they like to offset their data blocks based on where they're going. So for example, I have my E trackers over here to my right, so I know they're going over E trackers. The C trackers here, I have them to the left, knowing that, and then my D trackers here, I have them both either way, just depending on what I want, where the airspace is. But that's just a quick reminder for myself. They're saying, okay, I know these guys are going to these routes, without having to look at them again.
You dropped your data block early, sir.
No, I didn't. What are you talking about?
237.
He's out of the airspace.
He's out of airspace now.
Envoy 3648, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
4127, Envoy 3648. Chicago, United 1616's 10.4 coming to 15,000.
United 1616 Chicago Center, climb maintain file 230, zoom normal speed.
23 normal speed, United 1616.
You can tell it's bad rides this day because everybody's filing low as hell.
Yeah, they were filing low. Yeah, there was bad rides up high. Yeah, that was true. But again, it's just, yeah. Southwest 2503, contact Chicago Center 135.15.
13515, Southwest 2503.
SkyWest 5610, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
4127, Skywest 5610. Chicago Low Southwest 1699 is 7.6, or correction, 8.1 for 12,000.
Southwest 1699 Chicago Center, climb maintain 13,000, resume normal speed.
13 normal speed, Southwest 1699.
This is another thing too. I think I talked about in my other session where we have an interim altitude waiver. So all these guys coming off, we will just leave their cruise altitude in there as their final. We don't update it. So like this United here, these climb is 23, but I don't update the interim to 23. I keep it as is, just so that the highs know what's coming. If we do put an interim like we did on the Southwest here, then we have to put that in. But again, we have the interim altitude waiver. We don't have to do that. Brickyard 4803, contact Chicago Center 135.15.
3515, Breaker 4803.
Envoy 3694, pilots discretion to send maintain 1000.
Pilots discretion into 1000, Envoy 3694. Chicago Low Breaker 3697's 1000 for 15,000.
Brickyard 3697, Chicago Center, climb maintain file 230, zoom normal speed.
Audible 230 normal speed, Breaker 3697.
Southwest 1699, resume, or correction, climb maintain file 230.
Audible 230, Southwest 1699.
United 752, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
2127, United 752. Chicago Low American 600's 10.5 for 15,000.
American 600, Chicago Center, climb maintain file 190.
Audible 190, American 600. Chicago Low Southwest 1190 is 9.5 for 1-2000.
Southwest 1190 Chicago Center, climb and maintain 13,000. Resume normal speed.
13,000 normal speed, Southwest 1190.
United 1616 contact Chicago Center 121.27.
2127 United 1616.
Envoy 3694 contact Champaign approach 121.35.
12135 Envoy 3694.
All right, go ahead and pause it real quick. We'll talk through the situation here.
Pause.
All right, so this is where the scent actually gets a little bit busier. So our main thing is here. We have our southwest here. He's on. I should mark him on. Coming off, he's on the D track. Just had to get him underneath him, so now I can rip him. My next problem here is I have these three guys here. I can't click on for some reason. Unexpected error. Okay, guess that's interesting. So I have my E tracker here. So this guy's a Reco guy, so he's going over here. My American here, he's also an Oreco guy. Wisconsin coming up, he's an MG guy, he's on the other side. My SkyWest here is also an MG guy. This Medevac Logistics, I remember, he's also going down there. And there's also the Southwest here, which I'm not sure why he's not flashing at me. Whatever. So I have to get these guys on the right side of each other and break their speeds. So the reason I went slower here is so I know the Southwest is coming, so then he doesn't run over this guy here, and I get this guy going. So in the real world with our EDST, we can see departures coming out and so forth. So knowing to keep this guy slow so it doesn't run over this guy in front of him is also key. And then also this American only wants 19 as a final. So keeping him slow is going to keep him behind this guy, and I can get this guy turned out and climbed up. We can go ahead and run a sec.
I'm showing Southwest 1787 already tracked by you.
What is going on here? No track? User action allowed on control fatal. What?
I'm going to move over to... I don't know. I'll just connect as Burlington and slant OK it and hand it back to you.
Okay. That's weird. There we go.
Is it on pause or not yet?
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
I needed to slant OK and then hand it back to him. We're all good now.
Yeah.
Unpaused.
Okay.
So Southwest 1190, climb maintain file 230.
Audible 230 Southwest 1190. Chicago Low Southwest 1787 is 10.2 for 1-2000.
Southwest 1787 Chicago Center, climb maintain 16,000.
16,000 Southwest 1787.
Brickyard 3697 maintain 290 knots or greater.
Speed 290 or better, Brickyard 3697. Chicago Willow, Wisconsin 6136, 9,000, climb at a 15,000.
Wisconsin 6136 Chicago Center, climb maintain file 210, resume normal speed.
Audible 210 normal speed, Wisconsin 6136.
Southwest 1699 contact Chicago Center 121.27.
2127 Southwest 1699, yeah.
Southwest 1787 clear direct E-tame.
Direct, who was that for?
Southwest
Direct
1787
E-tame first.
clear direct E-tame and resume normal speed.
Normal speed, direct E-tame, Southwest 1787. Chicago Hello Logistics 297 is 10,000 for 1-2000.
Medevac Logistics 297 Chicago Center, turn 20 degrees right, vectors for your climb and maintain 17,000.
17,020 right, Medevac Logistics 297.
American
Chicago Low
6,
Coast. Go ahead.
American 600, disregard. Southwest 1787, climb and maintain file 230.
23, Southwest 1787. Chicago Low Coast 4792 is 11.5 for 15,000.
Skywest 4792, Chicago Center, climb and maintain file 230, resume normal speed.
43 in normal speed, Skywest 4792.
American 600, resume normal speed.
Normal speed, American 600. Oh, I guess you don't have the tag on logistics yet. That's my fault. It won't let me. You want to pause it again, Zach?
Yeah. It says logistics is already tracked, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hop on over to Boyle or Bradford. I don't know. Burlington. That's what.
Which is so weird because I put the 20 right in and it looks like it worked.
It did work.
Yeah, so my Medevac Logistics also an Oreco guy here, and he wants higher. So again, I'm trying to get him out of the way of my American here. I should have stopped him. Actually, I'll stop him underneath him. Get underneath. Actually, I did stop him at 17,000. I don't know why that didn't go in there. Keep one to the American on the other side of him, and then I can get this American going direct to Oreco or something, then get this guy direct to the airport because he's going to Chattanooga. So eventually he'll be on this side anyways, get him direct to Chattanooga because we always like to get Medevacs direct.
So I'm going to point out one thing that Joe did that I don't think he even thought about explaining. So he put a 5-mile bubble on Brickyard 3697 because the second Brickyard 3697 leaves 23, it's going to pop to a 5-mile bubble. He needs 5-mile separation between other aircraft. And he's got Southwest 1787 right behind him, climbing to 23. So say Southwest hustles up to 23 before Brickyard. Well, you got non-radar at that point since Brickyard left 23. But say Brickyard.
Say he goes Nordo or something else, right? It's again one of these things where I'm trying to make sure I don't give the high sectors a deal because I want them to be able to climb this guy as soon as I want them to get them out of my airspace. So the big thing here is knowing, okay, down here I only need 3, but giving to the highs I need to give them 5 so you have something to work with, right? So right now I have 30 knots to the good, so he's pulling away. I probably should still stop the speed on Southwest anyways, just to make sure he doesn't overrun him. But again, at the end of the day, I'm making sure that the highs can climb this guy and not worry about the guy behind him overrunning him.
Yeah. Yeah, like the second though that Brickyard leaves 23, he's gonna pop to a 5-mile bubble, and ERAM does that automatically. And if anybody's within the 5-mile bubble, it's gonna start flashing.
Yeah, you've already kind of seen sometimes these guys coming off O'Hare Midway, they will flash on our scope because they don't have any interims or anything like that. They are separated, but they will flash until we put an interim altitude on them because it thinks it's going to climb through the other guy. So happens in the highs as well. We have a guy, see, has 29 in the data block. They might have a 25 overflight down here. It will flash because it thinks it's climbing 29, even though they're not climbing. So again, it's just one of those things where you got to know and set up your next sector for the success.
And then knowing this, I can tell what Joe's going to do with American 600, Medevac Logistics 297, Air Wisconsin 6136. They're going to stay in the lows, so he's going to use his 3 miles, get him up to 23, and once he's above 220, he's good to go. So he doesn't need any 5-mile bubbles up there.
Yeah, so my Medevac wants 41, obviously. My American only wants 19. My Wisconsin only wants 21. So these guys are all on the same track here. Well, actually, he's an E-Tame guy, and the American's also an E-Tame guy. So these guys need to be on this side over here. So these guys need to be over on this side, and I want my medevac to go down this way. So I want to put my MG guys over here, my Reco guys over here. So that's essentially what I'm doing here is I'm putting my medevac and bringing them out this way and then bringing them back this way on the other side. Then I can bring these guys direct E-tame on both of them, pulls them out away from my track over here, and that's what the main thing is. I'm trying to pull them away from my track so that I can climb my medevac and get them on top. Now these guys are still staying in the lows, obviously. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Get rid of you. These guys are staying in the low, so I have more control of them. I can turn them more if I want to. I can assign speeds. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure I get my medevac up and out because he wants higher. He's a higher performing aircraft. He's a Citation. Well, this is one of the crappier Citations. But anyways, we want to get him up and going because he's obviously a medevac. He needs to get direct to his airport and get there as quick as possible.
Yeah, and if they were like splitting them apart, if all of them were going to the high, same thing would apply. But these guys are in the lows. That means he can turn medevac logistics earlier rather than later.
Yeah, and big thing here to remember thing too is the reason I went to 17,000 opposed to 180. My altimeters up here are 18 is not usable. It is below, so I have to use 17,000. I can't remember what on this day if it was below or not, but just make sure you keep this in mind. If any one of your altimeters for your sector cover your sector are below 18 or below 299 or 2, you have to use 17,000 as your 190 is your lowest usable flight level. So just making sure that you have your separation before climbing, because otherwise you could have a deal here if you try to climb to 180.
I'm not gonna lie, I actually pull up the radar sort box and see what altimeters apply to the box. But we'll go over that another time. We're gonna unpause here. 1, 2, 3, now.
Brickyard 3697, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
2127, Brickyard 3697.
Southwest 1787, maintain 290 knots.
Speed 290, South of 1787. Chicago Low American 689, 10.3 for 15,000.
American 689, Chicago Center, climb, maintain, follow 230, Zoom normal speed.
23 at normal speed, American 689.
Correction, American 600, clear direct E-tame.
Direct E-tame, American 600.
Southwest 1190, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
1190, 121.27.
Southwest 1787, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
2127, Southwest 1787. Chicago Low Envoy 3745 is 9.1, comment to 15,000.
Envoy 3745, Chicago Center, climb, maintain, follow 230, Zoom normal speed.
23 at normal speed, Envoy 3745.
Doesn't look like I'm a medevac turd 20 right, but whatever, it's fine.
I put 20 right in.
I know you did.
The wind, man.
Anyways, I think I got it. Medevac Logistics 297, climb, maintain, file 410. Or correction, climb, maintain, file 230 on resume normal speed.
23 at normal speed, Medevac Logistics 297.
Wisconsin 6136, clear direct E-tame.
Direct E-tame, Wisconsin 6136. Chicago Low United 419 is 9.1, comment to 15,000.
United 419, Chicago Center, climb, maintain, file 230, Zoom normal speed.
23 at normal speed, United 419.
Medevac Logistics 297, clear direct Chattanooga Airport.
Direct to Chattanooga, Medevac Logistics 297. Chicago Low Air Sprint 820, Audible 24 show.
Air Sprint 820, Chicago Center, center maintain 16,000, the Peoria altimeter is 299.5.
Not 5 to set to maintain 16,000 Air Sprint 820.
Bro sounds like a pilot.
Medevac Logistics 297, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
121.27, Medevac Logistics 297. Chicago, hello, Southwest 2737, 7000, come at a 2000.
Southwest 2737 Chicago Center, climb maintain 50230, zoom normal speed.
23 normal speed, Southwest 2737. Chicago, hello, Wisconsin 6171, 11.4 for 15,000.
Wisconsin 6171 Chicago Center, climb maintain 50230, zoom normal speed.
23 normal speed, Wisconsin 6171. Chicago, hello, Southwest 771, 7000, come at a 2000.
Southwest 771 Chicago Center, climb maintain 50230, zoom normal speed.
43 normal speed, Southwest 771.
American 600 contact Chicago Center 135.15.
3515, American 600.
You could see with that update, Medevac Logistics bubble popped to a 5-mile bubble. It does that automatically in ERAM
Yeah.
when they lose eligibility for 3 miles. Joe, does y'all's SOP interrupt me to talk to a plane if you need to? Does y'all's SOP say if you lose eligibility, pretty much do your best to restore 5 miles?
We don't have anything that says that, but I think that's interpreted that way. It's like, yeah, if you're something that says, hey, we lost our ADSB, then yes, try to get them back into legal as soon as possible. Down here, we could use visual separation if they're below 180. We could theoretically try to use visual separation. That's another thing. But Airsprint 820 contact Chicago Center 135.15.
3515, Airsprint 820, ship.
Skywest 4792 contact Chicago Center 121.27.
2127, Skywest 4792.
And I'll go ahead and pause real quick. I'll talk something else here. It's more of a rural thing. Opposed to on VATSIM. I don't know what the VATSIM SOP has it, but rural world, all these guys going to the highs, the high sector has control for left turns and speed adjustments for us. So with this Wisconsin here, this Skywest is going faster than him. So theoretically, if they were side by side, let's just say that the Skywest was right here. I couldn't ship this aircraft who's out of 22 to the high sector just because they could theoretically turn him left into my Wisconsin, not know about it. So one concept we do, rural, which we not necessarily do here, is we would get higher for the Skywest. We'd APRAC higher with the next sector saying, hey, APRAC higher, they'd say, come back, say, hey, he's cleared to 23, or not 23, 25, 27, 30. And so we clear that guy so then I can ship him when he's clear of my Wisconsin because we have that control. Same thing on the other side over here. This is actually a separate sector. They have control for right turns on this side. So same thing. If I had a guy right next to, like, same thing. I have a guy at 23, slow 23 down here on my A track, and I have a B tracker, which is going to climb above them. Same thing, get higher there. So that's one of the things we see rural, but we don't necessarily see on VATSIM that is key to make sure sometimes that you do have to get higher on aircraft just to make sure that you can ensure separation between them.
And yeah, we don't have that in Memphis, unfortunately. But the app wrecking higher, also down there, like I had a FedEx last week that was climbing at like 6,000 feet a minute. So he was 20 miles off of Memphis, and the high hadn't taken the handoff yet. So I called him, got higher, and dude was level at his cruising altitude at 35, 40 miles north of Memphis. Yeah, like it's like the situational thing. You want to keep these planes climbing as much as you can because that's where they're going to be more efficient. That's going to be where they're faster. That's where they're going to fit in the line.
Yeah, and the same thing too with our high sector here. The sector above is a transitional sector. So like we'll say, like you see this Indy guy down here. So we have an Indianapolis lander that came from us. But for example, let's say the Indy guy is right about here. He's trucking along. He's going this way. He's going direct jacks. And this Wisconsin here is going to be a problem for him. So he's not climbing very well. He's climbing out. We'll say, actually, you know what? We'll not use him. we'll say it's this United here because the United is a better example on the D track. The C track, we turn the Indigo over on this side. But this D tracker here, he's traveling for an Indy lander, and he's not climbing very well. So a lot of times the high sector will do is, hey, they'll app-rack lower with
What'd you say?
they'll app-rack lower with the sector down here, this sector down here. And then they'll point them out to us because we own this airspace. They'll point out to sending. So again, we need to swap aircraft out. We can't wait to the last second. We let these guys keep going. So we'll say the Indy
I don't
guys.
know. I mean, sorry.
It's okay, Colton. So the
Colton,
Indy
turn
guy.
voice activity off, please.
Yeah, we'll just try to get the Indy guy lower, but below this guy, so we can keep this guy climbing up and get the Indy guy going down, and just ensure separation within our airspace stratums.
Yeah, we do the same thing down in Memphis. Like we'll descend at a Little Rock lander so that we can give an altitude to a Memphis lander that's in the low stratum. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready, Colton?
Yeah.
Unpause.
Wisconsin 6136, contact Chicago Center 135.15.
3515, Wisconsin 6136.
Southwest 2737, clear direct Mesas.
Direct Mesas, Southwest 2737.
Envoy 3745, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
4127, yeah.
American 689, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
American 689, switching 12127, yeah.
United 419, contact Chicago Center 121.27.
121.27, United 419.
So yeah, so again, what they say, a lot of the guys here, actually, what they teach is they say you want to have all your problems solved. If I want to make this line better, basically on a straight line through Piatown here. They want you to have all your problems solved up in this section up here, and by the time you're down in the lower section down here, you can ship them, they're all solved. So again, this goes back to coming up with a plan and coming with it early, is you want all your problems solved early, so then you have your time freed up to do other things. So that's just one of the things they like to teach here in the sectors. Make sure you get stuff done up first, opposed to waiting down till you're down south and you're struggling, you're always behind.
Anybody who's been S3 training recently, and I've been in the room, I've harassed Maddox and Kevin about it. Before the session even starts, we'll ask you, what's your sequence? So you're making that plan early, right away. You're making it work. If it's not going to work, change it and make it work.
All right, I think this is pretty much done. I think that was pretty much all the meat and potatoes of it there. So yeah.
You want me to check on with the departures that are coming out, or no?
Nah, we can. This is pretty much done, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so that's the main gist of a departure push coming out of C90. It happens. It's actually busier than this, and this one was mainly just an E-track push. We get a lot of departures down our E-track, so making sure we either do speeds or shortcutting guys and get people on the right side of each other is the big key here, right? So again, in this situation, I have two options here with these two guys here. Right now, my speeds are not looking the best. So if I actually take this guy and put a 5-mile bubble on him. So I put that bubble on him, and my Southwest here, he decides he's going faster, right? So right now I have 390 versus 380, if I remember here. Let's look here. Find this software out.
This would be a point where he would app-rack higher and like leaving 24 direct whatever, or he could leave him direct. Well, he could leave him direct Emily, but he could app-rack higher and wait to ship him until he's leaving 24.
Yeah, so
because if high decides to turn him left, he's not going to run over that Southwest 2737.
And he's an MG guy, so they would try to turn him left. I have two options here. Either A, I get higher on the Southwest, 7071, or B, I don't make a phone call. I shut off Southwest 2737 at 50220 and ship the Southwest 771 to the high sector, or even actually, I'd shut him off at 21 at this case for positive separation. I shut him off at 21. I just ship the Southwest to the high sector. They can turn whatever they want. I still have positive separation in that case, just based
And
on
for
the speeds.
direction of flight.
Direction of flight, yes. Direction of flight. We do have that with the south or the southwest here. We do have that restriction where we can climb these guys at 23 and give them to Danville without AppRec wrong for direction on these guys. We do have that with them. But yeah, that's another option there. I could stop them. Well, yeah, because they have to cross the Indy boundary fellow 230 at Maces anyways. So we don't have to call an AppRec this at all for the wrong way.
I'm not talking 2737 wrong way. I'm talking about 771 wrong way, 22. He'd be climbing to high, but I know I've been trained to not even assign wrong for direction, even if they're transitioning. Like, even if you know they're going to be clear of conflict in about 2 minutes, just assign them right for direction, then climb to 23, hand off to high when they're clear of the conflict.
Yeah, I was talking 22 on the Southwest 2737, just to the 5-mile eligibility. So he will never get close to the 5-mile eligibility. So you can go 5 and you're still safe. But I would climb to 23 afterwards. But it's just another option. Right now,
Yeah.
since they're laterally separated, it would be really hard for them to turn. They have to turn this guy really hard left to even come close to hitting this guy because they're doing the same speed. They'd pretty much have to put him on a 90 hitting, and that might not even hit them at this point. It could be close, but it might not even hit them with the speeds. But yeah, so that's pretty much all this. I think we're good here. Does anyone have any questions or comments or things? Again, like I said, it's interesting seeing more of a departure push. We've seen a lot of arrival stuff where you're trying to put people in lines. And here you're trying to get people out of lines to get them separated, get them fast, and get them going. So down here you can see the high sector would already fan these guys out more and get them to their respective altitudes.
Yeah, like I just made a file today for the VATSIM. I've had a couple of people run it, and they struggled with it. And I'm not surprised they struggled with it because it's a hard file. You you want me to delete all aircraft?
Yeah, and I can just I'll talk about some of those things real quick too. So another challenge of the piéton sector is we have our Indy departures. They come up this way, they come here, and they go pretty much direct Boiler. And then if we get them our west coast, they're going direct Bradford or Iowa City, which goes straight across our tracks. So sometimes in the lows, we try to get them over here. We try to drive them this way, so then we can make sure that they don't cut across our tracks. So we drive them this way, give them to the high, take a point on them, climb to the highs, and let the highs put them up here and come across when these guys are still low. Another thing that you'll see at piéton a lot of times is slow climbers off of South Bend coming this way. Usually a big problem child aircraft. They're usually the SkyWests early in the morning or during the day where it's hot. They don't climb. They cut across your tracks. Sometimes take a point on them. Sometimes take radar, trying to get them up and above. Is just another thing there. And then obviously, like you saw here, we have our Peoria landers that come across. We have Grissom landers that come across this way. You have your Lafayette guys that come across this way. It's just a lot of stuff that happens there. And then on weather days, where we have weather, they love shooting all the O'Hares and Midways over Champaign. And then they either go, if they're going west side, they go over here for the Turtle Lachine, or they go this way, they bring them all the way across this way and bring them over to the other side. So sometimes too, it can get a little bit hairy where we're trying to get all of our departures up and out, but they're sending these guys to O'Hare Midway at 22, usually over Champaign, and they're getting them on the other sides. We're down to duck and dodge. So there's a lot of stuff involved there with just making sure that we're getting our departures up and out, because we want to get these guys out of the problem and get these guys down into the C90 airports.
Be like turning the people out that you had said earlier. Put them on the heading towards the airport, and then let the high figure it out later. We, I personally do the same thing. If they're climbing a high, I'll put them towards the airport and let I'll usually let the high figure it out, or if we have crossing restrictions for our arrivals, so like we're able to tell them leaving this altitude, clear direct blank, but like even here, we'll for your departures, we'll get them out of the way, get them to a point where they're well above the departures. We're able to stop the departures off and get them on course, climbing high. I did the same thing with my arrival. I turn them parallel opposite direction of my arrivals, or if they're high enough, I'll turn them in towards Memphis approach so that they get above Memphis approach, and I could turn them on course with the restrictions on the arrival. It's just it's a lot of knowing your airspace, is knowing where planes will be and what altitude they'll be at, and what'll work best with it.
Yeah, so this is our high map here. So this is, as you can see, the highs have a lot more airspace. So real world, actually, our sector actually divides something like this. It's somewhere like around that line. So we have our guys over here and guys over there. So that's things, but we have tons of space. So like these E-trackers, a lot of times we love doing that where we'll pull the MG guys and stuff, we'll pull them out this way, we'll pull the Louisville guys this way, just because we want to make sure they have these two fixes down here. We can do that. Let me zoom out a little bit actually. Actually see these a little bit. Yeah, if I can move my thing. So yeah, so Emoji's actually down here. That is Emoji down there. E-Tame's here, Areco's here. And a lot of these MG guys go direct Falmouth afterwards, so they'll actually take a turn out more. But again, we have a lot of open space here, which we don't see much of the guys fly through. Mainly the traffic we see fly through that airspace over there is going to be Milwaukee's, which are coming pretty much Mesa's, direct Vinny, which is like there. The Cincinnati arrivals actually do the same thing down the jetway, so they'll come down the jetway here, go to Mesa's there, and go over. So a lot of times we're just trying to get these guys separated as quickly as we can, get them climbing, break their speeds, because we know they don't want to be at speeds going to the high altitudes, because we need to get them into, either we have to transition them into Machs by the time they get to 29, or after that, sometimes you can't handle it or can't help it, where you have two Savannah guys on the E-track, both going Emoji, and then Falmouth, they both want 37. Well, you can get the front guy a shortcut. Hopefully he stays faster, but at the end of the day, if you have to give speeds, you have to do it. Again, for VATSIM purposes, most of the time on VATSIM with the departure pushes, they're all conga lines because they're all going to the same airport. So you see a St. Louis event, they'll all be going down the B track. Same thing with the Indy events. They'll place in the lows, they'll stay here, and Cincy's, they'll all go that way. So sometimes not feasible to give these guys shortcuts to get them out of the way. You'll have to assign speeds to them, especially there's miles and trail restrictions. But on a normal day, the A track and the E track are the ones that get the busiest, just due to where most aircraft want to go. And sometimes too, one of the strategies we like to use is if we have a really busy E track push, and then we have some guys over Louisville, we'll just put them over the D track. We'll just use the unused track, put them this way, and then back here they can go back direct to Louisville all day long as they get on the other side. So just because an aircraft's on a route doesn't mean they have to stay on that route. That's where a lot of the stuff, we have a lot of our flexibility in our SOPs where we can turn aircraft. If the D track's heavy, when you need people going further west or further east, use the C or the E track. Same thing with the C track being busy. If a guy going more east, put him on the D track. So it's just the world's your oyster here when you try and put planes where they aren't.
You'll hear that in the TRACON as well. Put planes where they aren't. Where are planes not usually at? Right next to the airport. So you let them run to the airport and then turn them on downwind rather than trying to turn them to the downwind, or you turn them before the airport and then you turn them downwind, kind of like O'Hare does it, because they got the fixes east or west of O'Hare. You let them run that way. Take that into consideration with your other airports as well when you're trying to build some miles. Put them where they aren't. There's no airplanes in the departure area. Put them there.
Yeah, so does anyone have any questions for either myself, Zach, or anyone else?
Dustin has a question.
Yeah. What's if so when you're putting an aircraft on one of those other tracks, are you just re-clearing them direct to those fixes one by one? What's the easiest way for you to do that?
So the easiest way we like to do it is just assign headings. So we know what the tracks are like. So we know that the C track is pretty much a 185, 190 heading, depending on the winds. The D track's going to be about a 175 heading, and the E track's going to be about a 165 heading. So we know what the is. You have to do it based on your winds. But up earlier, up north, we'll just give them a 20 right, 20 left, or whatever, and then just assign a heading. And the highs have this. We have this thing with our control SOP where if there's any fourth line entry for headings, the next sector automatically gets control from the previous sector for turns back on course. And the highs know what the lows are doing. So if the lows put the guys out on a 180 heading, like we have a guy going this way on a 180 heading, there's another aircraft over here. We know the 180 heading is for this aircraft on the other side. So they know what you're doing. It's just usually easiest is to give headings until you can give an X fix because you don't have to pilot all these new fixes to plug into their FMC for battery back and type of frequency. It's easy the pilots know too. They know why you're vectoring them. They're getting vectored to get climb and getting out, so they know why you're doing it. So easiest thing to do: assign a heading you know is going to work, or just assign 20 right, 15 right, 10 right, just some sort of heading, and then eventually let the next sector tie them back into their route where they're going to be laterally clear.
Cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust anybody at Memphis Center to take control of that.
And this is the nice thing about Chicago. We have these departure tracks. They're not SIDS, so we're flexible. If we can reroute them all the time. Like sometimes people will love to do this little trick. They'll give them like earned, so they'll have earned, and they'll give them direct ETAM. So after earned, direct ETAM. So it cuts all this extra airspace out that they don't have to fly anymore. Or they'll do the same thing here. Like they'll go to direct dent, then direct. Whoops, that's not in the right spot. But you get the idea. They'll go dent, direct dumb G. Same thing. All they're trying to do is cut out this little bit of space here. So the next guy they can leave them over on this side over here, and then eventually, okay, we'll put them back direct dom V. And by the time they get there, they're already laterally separated. So then the high sector doesn't have to worry about it anymore. So I would say most times out of not, heading's your friend. It's easy. Pilots can usually do that, especially on VATSIM. If they can't fly a heading on VATSIM, they shouldn't be flying on VATSIM, period, anyways. So I would say instead of trying to make them reprogram everything, put them on a heading, and then especially flash the guy to the next sector early. Even if you have a temporary altitude, we do this all the time. Is we'll have a guy up here, we'll say he's not climbing very well, his interim of 21, to make sure he's going to stay under our guy over here, 23 or something like that. We flash them with 21 interim. We take the interim out because we know we're going to climb them. It's not like you're going to hit their airspace. So that way they know that it's coming, so they don't actually do something to actually end up hindering that aircraft.
I think we kind of do the same thing. We call it pre-planning in yellow, where we're going to turn them back shortly. We'll take the fourth line with the turnout and route pick where we're going to turn them back, and they take the handoff that's approval for that route. So we'll turn them back to that fix, and it's all fine and dandy.
Yeah, we do the same thing all the time, especially when we get down south here with Indy. So like, whoops, I don't want that setting. This area down here, south. If we have anything with Indy, like we have somebody on a heading, let's just say we have traffic coming across this way, and we have a departure coming out here who they might be traffic with. So we have them on a vector going this way, and then we're going to turn them back direct Louisville or something afterwards. So sometimes we'll take the fourth line out, we'll route pick them somewhere right around this area right here. We'll just highlight the data block just to make sure we don't forget about it, flash it on Indy, and they take it. They know that we haven't turned them back yet, but it has the route in there, so that's why we kind of do that too. So yeah, route pick's your friend, so you can do silent coordination in effect. Like you're saying, okay, is it technically legal? No,
Yes.
it's probably not technically legal because the data block's not
legal.
reflecting what the aircraft is actually doing at the time.
The route line does, though.
The route line does, but not the data block. There's a distinction there. Some people might argue that it's not that, but it's the way you want to make a phone call in an app rack, and it's just a way to, because we want to reduce phone calls. Is the way they always put it. Make less phone calls.
Because you have the route line down to, say, Brickyard, I don't know, 280 radial, 50 mile fix and then direct whatever. If you're on the turn and they're joining that route, then I'd say that's legal because they see what's going on with the plane when they run the route. And but if you're late or early on it and they're not actually on that route, then I'd say no, it's not legal.
Yeah, but again, like I said, in that situation, Indy knows why we're doing it. It's known traffic to both of us. They know why, especially if it's coming from them on a point-hour flash-through procedure. They know why we're doing it, so they're all good with it. Now, if they didn't know why we're doing it, that'd be a different story. But we know why we're doing it.
That's a big thing with real life is people know why you're doing something. But
Yeah.
like by the book, it's not really correct, but everybody knows why you're doing it. Like you get that specific route approved with them taking the handoff, and you hit the route, perfectly fine. If you miss the route, then it's a different story.
Yeah, that was a good question, though, Dustin. Just with the departures, yeah, I would say at the end of the day, heading is your friend. Turn and burn, easiest thing to do.
I mean, that makes sense anyway, because even in real world, no pilot's going to be able to make the reprogram quicker than you can just tell them to fly a heading anyway.
Yeah, and most pilots know too. Like if you say, "Hey, we need you on this heading a little bit for traffic," they'll understand. They know why. Or it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
same with the sequencing. Like, "Hey, we need to turn this for sequence." Like the biggest example we hear is UPS pilots coming at night. There'll be tons of UPS pilots. They come in over this way, so they come down here. They're going on a direct Ramsey. Usually this way, they come from there. They come from there. They come from here. We'll have some departures coming out on the D track. So you tell them, "Hey, I need to turn this." They understand. They know why you're doing it. And at the end of the day, headings are always easiest.
Memphis meters their own planes.
What's
Just
metering?
putting that. We use it about twice a month in Memphis, just to say that we use it, and it is terrible every time we use it.
I think they're trialing it here for O'Hare. I think they're trialing it. I don't know if they're going to use it or not, but I think it's in the trial stage where they're going to try and start using it. Where it's like, hey, no one really does it because we're old school. We like vectoring. Same thing with C90. They like vectoring. Let us have control of the aircraft. Let us do what we need to do and be done with it. Don't have us be tied down with all this other stuff.
High going into approach.
Well, especially with all the vectoring that you guys do and the speeds, it works pretty well the way that it does now. I can imagine metering is going to really F with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Indy has it for us. Indy might have a metering thing for us. We don't use it, but they might have a metering thing for us already. Like Indy meters for Atlanta. They meter for a lot of stuff. Their team, they've adopted it there. So a lot of times we'll get a bunch of Atlanta guys out. We ask, "Do you need something in trail?" Like, no, it's already metered, but they don't care. So it's just every facility is different what they want. And so yeah.
Yeah, because depending on what they filed for the speed, they'll they could have a different time going in there. So like it looks great on the metering scope with the ladders, but in the sector they're going to be in conflict. And that's why a lot of controllers don't really like metering. Is yeah, they're projected to be at this place at this time, but right here they're directly in conflict with someone else going to the same place at a different speed.
Yeah, and this is where sometimes too with East Coast stuff, like a lot of times TMU will call us saying, "Hey, we have two guys going to Philadelphia," and we actually had this happen the other day. So let me actually show it to you. We had a guy going to, whoops, I don't want that. I want this. We had a guy going to Philadelphia here, and we had actually no, it wasn't there. He was over here in McCook's airspace, and we had a guy going to Philly right about here. And we're like, "Hey, you see this guy way up there? You fix this. You guys come up with a plan and do it." So opposed to telling us who's going to be first, who's going to be second, they're like, "All right, so we have to call the East area now saying, hey, they told us we got a sequence. What do you want to do with your guy? What do you want to do with our guy?" And so we have to figure out from there. That's the most annoying thing, especially when we have to deliver. That day we were delivering 20 in trail to ZOB for these Philly guys because there's some bad weather out there. But it's like, really? The metering might have worked there, but we get this all the time. DOB loves to shut us off. They get a little bit of weather, they shut us off, or they send back crazy restrictions. It's not uncommon to see 30 in trail for LaGuardia, 25 in trail for Dulles, 30 in trail for DCA. Sometimes JFK even gets 20. So it just depends on every day too what restrictions we have in place.
I'm turning my south guy on a 010 heading. Let the east area handle it.
There's that option too, but no. But in this case, he was way south. Like he was down here by Becky. It was like it wasn't going to make any sense. So we just called him and say, hey, we'll make our guy fast. You put your guy slow. It worked out because we already had range bearings up to, I think it was Rosewood was the fix, or Johnstown. They were over Rosewood, Johnstown, or something like that. So.
You kind of answered another question, Zach. Is metering based mostly on filed true airspeeds?
Yes.
Correct.
I thought so.
So if the plane's doing a different speed, it's not going to be correct. Like ERAM will kind of correct it as it goes, but it'll still put it at the new place at the same filed true airspeed. So it'll get closer and closer and closer and closer, but it's never actually going to show that they're in conflict, but they actually are in conflict.
And the big problem with metering too is they don't know about individual sectors. Like we may have to turn that aircraft for traffic or climb them or descend them, which changes their speed, which changes the wind, which changes everything. So does metering work? Yes, but at the end of the day, if we have traffic, we have to turn somebody, it's going to take them off the route for 20 seconds, maybe a minute, which will affect things down the line.
Right.
And then you get a plus number, and you got to speed them up. But like Memphis hates metering. Like to Atlanta, it's great. To Charlotte, it's great. We always get the GIs that say, "Hey, Atlanta and Charlotte metering canceled." But when we use it for Memphis, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe they'll start using it up here. I don't think so. I think most controllers are the same mindset. We're like, nope, we just want to take it all of our house. Just give us miles and trail. We'll do miles and trail. We'll be fine.
Because miles and trail is the tried and true method of everything. Like the planes are separated. You know that they're going to be delivered to this fix in this time at this speed. And metering kind of took that to an extreme to be like, they got to be over this fix at this time. But it doesn't really take into account the other fixes that they're metering for. And so this guy's scheduled at 1921, this guy's scheduled at 1922, but they're within 5 miles of each other. So you gotta turn the one guy for traffic and get them in miles and trail of each other. Like our separation is based on miles, but metering's trying to do it in time. And sometimes it just doesn't work. Because they see this true airspeed is maybe 457, this true airspeed is 420, but when they're getting close to the fix, the time is like, yeah, they'll be good, but the miles and trail, they're not quite there yet.
And SkyWest loves to do this. They love changing their true airspeed and trail. They'll get up to cruise like, hey, can we change the true airspeed to like 20 knots slower than what we filed? Usually because they want to extend their time. But it happens quite a bit where they call us and say, hey, we're changing our true airspeed.
Yeah, well, it's not. Some of them are trying to. I fly for SkyWest, so I know I've flown with some of the guys that are trying to extend their time. But we're trained from the get go to fly Mach 0.73 for cruise, and dispatch plans us at Mach 0.76 or 0.78. And that's why our true airspeeds are almost always wrong.
Yep.
And it messes up the EDST too. Like they'll be showing no conflict, but then once they get closer and closer and closer, it'll be updating an ERAM. as they progress, because ERAM, it'll show a free track, like not really probing well. If they get laterally outside of their projected path, but longitudinally along their path, it'll update to keep up with them. And as it updates longitudinally, it'll start showing us, oh, there's a yellow alert. And then as they get even closer, oh, it's a red alert now.
Yeah, those things ladders all the time. But same thing goes to effect with the route lines. Like you run a 5-minute route line on somebody and they're slower. It's all based on true airspeed. So if they're going slower, the route line to 5 minutes is not actually entirely accurate as well. So that's where it also makes a difference.
The only thing that doesn't lie is the vector lines. Like those are taking the raw track data, their speed, their course, and it projects out X many minutes, 1, 2, 4, or 8, and that's how controllers find conflicts. Even if the EDST says, "Oh, they're good," but you run the vector lines out and they're locked up, you know you got to turn the one guy.
Yeah,
Right.
especially with the climbers, they're going to be increasing their speed. So, as my trainers like to say, your 1 minute vector line is going to be your most accurate. 2's going to be a little less. 4's going to be a little less than that, and 8's definitely not very accurate because the time they speed up, they're going to be different from where their projection is. So, when transitioning aircraft do that, just make sure you keep that in mind. As transitioning aircraft, their vector lines are going to lie to you when they get further out.
And the vectors I'm working on now, it's a lot of climbers and descenders. So they're increasing and decreasing speed at the same time. So you got to be cognizant of that as well.
Yep.
Like especially XNA. We work XNA arrivals, and we take point outs on XNA departures. The climbers are going to be speeding up. Descenders are gonna be slowing down. And even though when you took the point out and when you took the handoff on these guys, they looked fantastic, they're not going to look as fantastic in 3 minutes. And that's where like we teach a lot of aircraft characteristics in Memphis because of that. So we kind of have this idea this aircraft is going to be doing this once they get through here. So we'll put some extra space, or if we know this guy's going to be speeding up, some less space, then maybe see how it goes. But it's always wise to go on the air of caution, give more space than you need.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does anyone else have any questions about the file or just some other practices in general?
Raise your hand if you do. Actually, there's 2 people in here. I'm gonna just invite both of you to speak, and y'all can just talk.
Hey, what's up?
Mark, you got any questions?
No, man. I was just listening. It was a good presentation.
Mark knows how this works.
Oh, I know he does. Steven, you got any questions? You should be able to see that you were invited to speak and be able to accept the invitation.
Come on, Steven.
Buddy.
Quit studying your Oshkosh stuff and come up here.
I'll pass.
Did you get Oshkosh this year, Steven?
Yep, I'm signing up for it going next month.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, we don't really have anybody else in the audience. We don't have anybody else in the audience, so Maddox, you can cut the stream, and that'll conclude the workshop.